Now that brings us to staying on the road. And the title of this is, why are 110 volt power adapters, also known as pigtails, so confusing? Well, they can be confusing, and it's because we sometimes just don't fully understand what our RV is, what power system it has. But more than likely, every RVer has at least 110 volt adapter or pigtail. They're kind of the same thing. Pigtails are just longer than an adapter. So we might float back and forth here with the terminology, but it's the same. And over the years, the adapters have expanded on how they're configured because RVs have changed. So, in the years ago, they used to be much more straightforward. There are less adapters because most RV cords or power cords were hardwired into the RV. And they weren't removable with a twist lock like that they are now or at present. And this matters because when you need to purchase an adapter, unless you know exactly what you need, you're going to be presented with options or questions that can easily confuse what you thought you knew to now you don't know. So they can be confusing. And again, this comes from experience in our store. Someone walks in, I need a 110 volt adapter. Well, what are you trying to do? Well, I need to plug into my house. What does your RV have? Well, I don't know. It's got a cord on it like they all do. Is it hardwired? Does it plug inside? These are all things. So before we get into the adapter, let's set this up so everybody can follow along and understand why this can be confusing. And so that's what we want to do, is strip the confusion out of here and make it simple. So first off, there's two types of power services that are available for RVs. So some RVs come with a 50 amp service, which the cord that plugs into the shore power would have 4 prongs on it. And that's standard. That's what they all have. So it's 4 prongs. It's going to plug into a shore power or a box that has 4 receptacles on it. It just plugs right in. And the other is a 30 amp service, and it's going to have 3 prongs. One is round and it's straight, and the other 2 are flat and they're at an angle. So now here's a fun fact for you. We're going to turn this into a big old fun thing, right? So a 50 amp service is 220 volts. So it's usually found on RVs with 2 air conditioners. If an RV has 2 air conditioners, it's definitely going to have 50 amp services. Sometimes it's on RVs with only 1 air conditioner, but the RV probably has the option of adding a second one because you have to have 50 amps to run both ACs, at least to do it easily. And so that 220 volts is not just like 220 volts going to the RV and everything in the RV is 220 volts. That's not the case. It goes to the power center, which has 2 110 volt legs on it, or bus bars, and they just distribute the power out. One, let's say, to the front of the RV, one to the rear of the RV. So the RV has 110 volt circuits in it. It's just 220 coming in. And one air conditioner will be on one half of the power center, and the other air conditioner will be on the other half of the power center. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully that clears that up, what a 50 volt or a 50 amp service is. And 30 amps is just 30 amps. It's 110 volts. It's not 220 or anything like that. It has 3 prongs, but it's 110 volts. Now, even electricians have mixed this up because they don't understand the RV. They see 3 prongs and they think it's like a welder with 220, but it's not. So now, the next thing we need to know, if your 50 or 30 amp service that you have in your RV is hardwired, or if it uses a twist lock connector. Now, let me explain what the difference is. So again, we're going to clear this up. So the twist lock is what's primarily used today on most RVs, but the hardwire system is still being used, and it was very popular in the years gone by. So hardwired is when you have a cord that comes out of the RV, wherever you store the cord, you pull it out, and the cord just stays inside of this compartment. It doesn't come out detached from the RV. So it's hardwired in. It goes into a box, and the end of the cord is wired into a box. So that's hardwired. Now, a twist lock is different. It has an outlet on the side of the RV with a lid. You flip the lid up, and you take the end of the power cord and it goes into this outlet and you twist it, and it has a ring on it that you tighten down, and that locks it in place. Twist, lock. So that's removable. And I bring this up because quite often people will ask us about a cord or an adapter, and they just assume that we know what they have. And as it always goes, if we think it's hardwired, it's a twist lock. If we think it's a twist lock, it's hardwired. So we have to ask. And sometimes they give us a funny look because it's a twist lock or it's hardwired. They just assume every RV's that way. And rightly so. That's how their RV came, so it's a natural thing to assume. But you need to know what you have. So now that you know whether you have a 50 amp or 30 amp system and how it's wired, whether it's hardwired or twist locks, now we can go on. So now you understand that. You 50 amp, 30 amp, twist lock, hardwired. So you have that under control. So let's untangle the rest of the 110 volt adapter confusion. So let's start with the twist lock system. So you can adapt the twist lock system by using the power cord, which would be plugged or, attached or plugged into the side of the RV. And it's going to leave the power cord, or it would leave the adapters out of the equation. So if you have the power cord that's plugged into the side of the RV, into the twist lock, then the adapters would go on the end of the power cord. And now those adapters are the same adapters that you would use if you had a hardwired system, because they're going on the end of the power cord. Because if you have a 50 amp twist lock system, the end of the power cord is going to have a 50 amp end on it, which is going to be 4 prongs, just like a hardwired one. And the same with a 30 amp system. If you have a 30 amp twist lock system and you plug the power cord into the side of the RV, the other end of the cord that goes into shore power will be a 30 amp, a 3-prong system. So that doesn't change out at the end of the cord that goes into shore power. It only changes at the side of the RV. So you can go 2 different ways if you have the twist lock system. You can use your power cord and then put adapters on the end of your power cord to adapt it down from 50 amps to 30 amps or to 15 amps to plug it into a regular household outlet. Or you can get an adapter that plugs into the side of your RV that will adapt down to 50 amps or 15 amps if you have a 50 amp system. And then you could plug a 30 amp cord into it or an extension cord for 15 amps, then plug it into the power source. So I hope that makes sense. So you can either use an adapter with the twist lock system directly on the side of the RV and then hook a cord up to it, or you can use your power cord and adapt down from there. So it entirely depends on what you're doing. Now, if your RV is parked at your house and you have the twist lock system and you just want to keep it plugged in to keep your batteries charged up, you can just get an adapter that goes from, let's say, 50 amps to 15, plug an extension cord into it, and plug it into an outlet at your house, and that'll keep your batteries charged. That'll work just fine. So you get the picture here? Hopefully so. And then if you have a hardwired system, the adapters just go right on the end of the cord because the hardwired end is hardwired. It's in the RV. You can't do anything with it. It's there. It's permanent. So now your adapters become simpler because you only have one choice or one type to choose from. So if you have a 50 amp cord with 4 prongs on it and you want to go to 30 amp, then you get an adapter that does such. Or if you want to go to 15 amps, you can get an adapter. The same with the 30 amp power cord as well. So hardwired versus twist lock, that's the big difference. And I think that's where some of the confusion comes in. And then not understanding always the 220 and 110 volts either. 50 amp is 220, 30 amp is 110. Like I said, that can get confusing because people don't understand how to wire it in. I guess they're overthinking it because they don't need to do it because the outlets are already there in most cases. So if you have questions about this, you can listen to the podcast again. We'll have this information in the show notes as well, so you can check it out on the website. But it's important to understand. That way when you walk into the store, you're getting one adapter, you're getting the right adapter the first time, and you don't have to have this lesson taught to you. And it's also knowing your RV. Everything we talk about on this podcast is so you get to know your RV. So you are the do-it-yourselfer, and you can manage your RV, from top to bottom. You understand it. You know what to ask for, what system you have, what adapters you need. So hopefully this makes sense to you. And then it comes in handy, and also helping others too. You're with your buddy. He's not sure what he has when you get to the RV store. Well, you can help him out. You can become the expert. And so it makes life easier. As always, the more you know, the easier it becomes. Like I said, this is on our website, and also you can look at the description in the podcast notes, and this information is there as well. So you certainly have a resource to go back to and check it out.